be together on a Thursday. How many people were confused? Okay.
I was excited.
We made it. Good morning, Creative Mornings DC. My name is Katie Bryant Greenwell, and I am your chapter host. It happened this year. It's been a joy and a ride. What is Creative Mornings? We have been gathering since 2008. Oh, we have been gathering since 2013. Started in 2008 by Tina Roth Eisenberg of Swiss Miss. Because why? Because design, creative, etc., inspiration talks were too damn expensive. Are too damn expensive in this economy. So we wanted something free and rooted in community. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is creative. And I know that particularly in DC, we are having quite a ride of it. So I'm going to give us a little bit more from the manifesto just to help center us today. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. So, first timers, raise your hand. Woohoo! Welcome. Been coming for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Woo! Okay. Everybody that's been here multiple years, meet a first timer and welcome them. Okay. It was working this whole time. Help? AV help? What am I doing wrong? Okay, well, get your phones ready. Okay, in the next slide, there's going to be a QR code. So, I'm Kaylee. I work at the Aspen Institute, the arts program at the Aspen Institute. I always get questions about what it is that we do and how you can get involved. And this next slide has a QR code for you once we can get to it. There is a project coming up that I am helping with in our leadership division. There's an opportunity to, there we go. There we go, okay, QR code in the corner there. There's an opportunity to create an artwork that'll be featured in the upcoming year's 2026 leadership seminar booklet. So, all of the creatives, artists in the group that are always asking me how to get involved, this is your minute. Okay. Moving on. Yes, and we are moving on. Yay, thank you. Okay, our theme for July is mentor. It was brought to us by our Glasgow chapter, and this beautiful graphic designed by Molly Hankinson, and a little something to center us in the thoughts of mentor. We could all use a guide as we climb. Find your mentors and be a mentor in return. Raise your hand. You got a mentor in the room.
In the room?
No, I mean, if you are in this room and you believe that there is somebody in your life that is a mentor to you, hands up. See? And are you paying it forward yourself in some capacity? All right. We're gonna make lots of connections about that today. And then I so happened to be writing my notes in my notebook yesterday while drinking my just tea, and my bottle cap said, authenticity is your most precious commodity as a leader, someone named Marcus Buckingham. So that's another little moment to think about. And, oh, there we go. Yes. And we are able to gather every month with all of the support that keeps us running. Our global partner is Adobe. Yay, Adobe! Who was with us last month? Yes, last month for Punk. Did you enjoy all of those tasty treats that were a little addition? That was also brought to us specifically by Adobe sponsoring our chapter for that moment. So we are very excited to be supported by Adobe. Adobe and Mentor go hand in hand. Adobe's creative career resources provide tools and inspiration to keep you moving forward. And here's a perfect example of that. Their new career guide, The Power of Mentorship, Why Every Creative Needs a Mentor. And we will be sharing this link in follow-up posts, so just continue to follow us. And there's more. Adobe recently launched the Creative Apprenticeship for emerging creatives, which includes mentorship, real-world projects, and actual job opportunities. Go to Adobe's new Career Resource Center to learn more. And we also would love to thank our local partners. Yay, local partners! Plants Alive for all of your plant-based retail, rental, and commercial needs. They provide our ASL interpretation upon request. And our lovely partner, Charlestown AV, for all of your event and media needs, continue to provide our videography. And we have a new face joining us, Lauren, doing our videography today. Thank you, and thank you to Charlestown AV. And last but certainly not least, our title partner of the year, Taste Coffee. Coffee for the live ones. More than just a drink, it's a coffee revival, crafted with care, rooted in community in all its varied forms. Taste is about more than exceptional coffee. Quality is only the beginning. It's about connection and celebration. Ready to find your new coffee ritual? Join the live ones. Visit tastecoffee.com. That is TASTCOFFEE.com. And Obi would like to remind everyone to use the CMDC15 promo code, which apparently nobody has used yet. So go ahead and save yourself some cash. It's literally CMDC15. Okay. Alrighty. And all of this magic, all of this beauty doesn't happen without our wonderful, amazing volunteer team. So please, big round of applause to all of our volunteers. They greeted you this morning. You see them every time. They make this world run. You probably saw on socials, I know you saw on socials because Amari got 40 emails. 50 emails. Woo! Okay, so we've got a lot of digging to do. But you saw that we are looking for new members for the team, and we are. So if you have emailed Amari, we will be following up with you soon. And we are looking for new members because, sad, some of us have left us. Mackenzie, our amazing graphic designer who actually continues to do our graphics, has moved and is going to continue to help us out virtually, but we love and miss her. And then the beautiful, wonderful, amazing Colleen had a baby! Yay! So this is, imagine the song, So Long Farewell from the Sound of Music. I'm not going to sing it for you, but that's what is playing in your head to this slide. Oh, yes. If there is a seat open next to you, please raise your hand, raise it high. And then folks, wherever you see a hand, come make a new friend. Okay, we'll squeeze in. Alrighty, let's keep moving. Field trips, yes. So this started in the pandemic and it keeps on chugging along. You get your email newsletter. That is where you sign up for the virtual field trips. They are free. They are on Zoom, for those of us that can stand more Zoom, but they are creative and fun, and sometimes you are in someone's pottery studio, and sometimes you are talking to somebody on their couch and having a virtual coffee together. It is wonderful. Check those out. Okay, I swear that they have not updated this number, because I always say we're like 260 chapters, but this slide continues to say 248. Who knows? There are a lot of global chapters. We have grown and grown and grown, and we continue to grow. And how does that happen? Because you come, you bring a friend, and you make a friend. So keep doing that. After the talk, introduce yourself to somebody new. Long timers, I already pointed you guys out. Go and meet a first timer. You got an opportunity, something to share. We can't always do that amount of slides. Share it with a stranger after the talk. Alrighty. And one more big thank you, please. Big round of applause. Thank you so much to Hopkins Bloomberg Center for inviting us. This is our first time here. Also, the building is quite new, so it might be many of your first time being here. Formerly the museum, and now this wonderful building. I'm going to turn it over to our guest host to say thank you for inviting us to be here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm Caitlin Berry. I'm the director of the Irene and Richard Frary Gallery, and I'm so excited to welcome the Creative Mornings crew to the Johns Hopkins University Bloomberg Center. Do we have any Johns Hopkins alumni here? Oh, yay! Welcome home. Thank you, Kaylee and team, the Creative Mornings team, for bringing this important creative convening to our space to expand upon the theme of mentor, a title that's near and dear to our hearts at this educational institution. Here, academic inquiry fuels discovery, democracy, and global dialogue, and mentorship is part and parcel to these modes of inquiry. In addition to these pillars, arts and culture have been integral to our mission since opening our doors in the fall of 2023. 4 commissioned artworks by global and local artists grace our walls, and we encourage our visitors, faculty, staff, and students to think differently about the world in which we live. These works, which you can actually see from your seats, kind of up here and at the breezeway, and the conversations they provoke reflect our core commitment to dialogue across differences and engaging with complexity in all its forms. The Frary Gallery, which you'll see right upon entry to your right, presents rotating exhibitions that encourage dialogue around art and democracy, positioning visual art as a vehicle for conversation around some of the most pressing issues of our time, issues that demand creative, interdisciplinary responses. Before giving the floor over to Vince, I'd like to invite you to sign up for our Arts and Culture newsletter, which I don't know where my clicker is here. Okay. Here we go. Another QR code for you, which is the best way to stay up to date when registration opens for our Sam Gilliam lecture series, whose next speaker is the world-renowned artist Theaster Gates, coming here to the Hopkins Bloomberg Center on December 11th, as well as staying in the know about our next exhibition at the gallery, which opens October 29th. You can also follow us on Instagram at JHUBloombergCTR. The amphitheater-style area where you're currently sitting is referred to affectionately as the beach, a nod to the grassy hill on our campus in Baltimore, where students relax, celebrate, convene, and learn. I hope that you'll enjoy your morning at the beach, soaking up the rays from Vincent Wanga, who is sure to inspire us and compel us to be creative leaders. Thank you, and welcome to the Hopkins Bloomberg Center.
Thank you, Caitlin. Another fun fact connection. Theaster Gates, former Aspen artist in residence. Here you go. All the connections. All right. And now, to bring it on home for Mentor, it's my pleasure to introduce Vince Wanga, a design thought leader, executive, author, whose book, The Art of Design, is available after the talk, up by where the coffee was. A lover of interior design, but his dog, Oki, may have a different opinion. So, welcome to the mic, Vince Wanga.
Thank you, Kaylee. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. I didn't know my dog snitched on me, but that's all right. Should never given him that phone. Let's make sure this works. So there's supposed to be audio here. I was going to do interpretive dance. There's not enough space up here, but this is just introducing me, and then we're going to get into our talk. Before we get started, I just want to say what an honor it is to be here. I love seeing all the people in the room. I've been coming to Creative Mornings for almost 10 years. When it started, I think Joel and Artemis Ward were running it. We shared a space where I was starting my agency, and they started Artemis there. And I've been on and off participant since. So I've been on your side. I've been in the audience, seen all the inspirational speeches. It means a lot to be on this side, even though I speak all over the nation and internationally, to be back home and speak in front of all of you amazing folks. So, what are we talking about today? Mentorship. This is deeply personal to me, extremely personal to me. I would not be here in my career on this stage if it wasn't for the mentors in my life. Part of me being here, part of my mission is to pay that back, to pay that forward, as Kaylee mentioned. And I really want to give you guys some tips on what I've learned on my mentorship journey, but also as being a mentee. But before we get started, I just want to share a few tasteful vacation photos from my trip to Armenia. It'll only take about 45 minutes, and then we'll get into what I want to talk about, if that's cool with you guys. Kaylee saying no? No? Okay. All right. Well, there goes that. So, blah, 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 blah. I've done a lot of things. I've been a lot of places. I wrote a book. I was VP of a $1 billion startup. I own my own agency. I've done this for 2 decades, blah, blah, blah. This is not about me. This is about you. I'm here as an expert, an experienced person to try to share my stories and insights with you, but I want you to take this personally and understand that this is a mandate for you to move forward as a mentor and as a mentee. I'm only expressing these things to express why you should listen to me. It's not because of the impressive things I've done in my career, but because I have the experience in the journey, and I want to share those stories so that you don't have to take the same path and you can find a shortcut to success through the mentors as I did. So, before we get into everything I'm going to talk about, does everyone know what a mentor versus a coach is? Does anybody want to raise their hand and try to differentiate those two things? Come on, guys. You are my coffee. I've not slept in 32 hours, so I need energy. I'm an entrepreneur. Let's go. Somebody raise their hand, please. Yell it out in the back.
A mentor kind of guides you into your own
not bad. It's not bad at all. Anybody else? You guys are drinking your liquid courage. We got caffeine. Let's go. Give me two more people. Mentor versus coach. I don't need a right answer. I want to see what people's perspectives are. Please, in the pink.
From my perspective, I feel like a coach is temporary versus a mentor is longer term.
Can you say that again?
A coach is more so temporary as opposed to a mentor feels more long term of a relationship.
Okay, I had you repeat it because that's a very important point. One more person. Difference between a mentor and a coach. Please.
Mentorship is at strategic level and coaching is at tactical level.
Wow. I forget we're in DC. Really smart. All right. I don't know who saw my slides. Did my dog tell you? All right. So all of you are right. But the reason I want to distinguish these things is because you'll hear these terms, mentor, coach. The biggest difference for me from experience is that a mentor is a long-term relationship. They're invested in your personal and professional development. A coach is more short, medium term. They're there to develop your skill, strategic and tactical, as was mentioned, to help elevate specific skills and resources that you need to develop. Here's a good analogy. A mentor might be somebody who's infinitely more successful or experienced than you. That's not necessarily true for a coach. Do you think Serena Williams' coach is a better tennis player than her? Absolutely not. But why does she have a coach if she's the best in the world, male or female? It's because a coach's job is to motivate you. They're the one who tell you to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning when you don't want to practice the skill and hone the talent you already have. A mentor is long-term and strategic. They're usually in a place that you aspire to, and they're sharing their resources and experiences with you to go forward. And I just want to have that distinction because people get those things confused. And you're going to meet both of these types of people in your life. And you try to treat a coach like a mentor like a coach. It's going to affect the quality of that guidance and that relationship. So I just wanted to start off by defining that. So let's talk a little bit about my mentorship journey. I mentioned earlier, the whole reason I'm here is because of those mentorship relationships in my life. I'm forever grateful. I spend the rest of my career paying that forward to others. So, this is what an ideal career looks like in our industry. Raise your hand if your career looks like this. Just stratospheric rise, no challenges, no layoffs, no issues. Please, raise your hand. I'm not raising mine. I'm just, no liars in the room? Okay, good. How many can resonate with this graphic? All of you should have your hands up. This is reality. My career looks like this. Its peaks and its valleys, its success and promotions and layoffs and failures, bad performance reviews, good performance reviews, everything that you can encompass in your challenge, personal and professional. This is what life really looks like. This is what a mentor will tell you, the truth. And it's sobering, but there's no way around it. And the reason I'm talking about this is because the whole reason I'm here, even though I've done a lot in my career, it's because of those valleys, not the peaks. I've learned from my failures. I've embraced my failures, and that's what's helped fuel me to success. So, what does that mean? Well, let me tell you how my career started. I was an artist. Scholastic award winner, designer, video production, everything you could imagine. I went to college, long story short, for financial reasons, I got kicked out of college. I was roughly 19, 20 years old, kicked out of school, no degree, $20,000 in debt. That's how my career started. I didn't start at the peak. I started in the gutter. So why am I telling you that? Because there's a lot of things that you can do in those situations. You can give up, feel like the world is against you, or you can use those failures as motivation to propel yourself to those peaks that you see there. And you cannot do this alone. That's why mentorship is so important. I had mentors in my life who held me accountable, particularly family, didn't let me feel sorry for myself, and forced me to take accountability for my situation and pull myself back up. I ended up backdooring my way into a career by approaching an agency, handing them my resume on a wish and a prayer. They contacted me, offered me an internship, and it was the best experience of my life. I had 2 mentors. both named Brad, ironically. And they taught me everything I know. I lied in that interview. I said I knew the software, I didn't know the software. I lied in that interview. I said I knew how to do the job, I didn't know how to do the job. I was desperate, and they covered for me, and they were patient, and they guided me, and they taught me everything they know. To this day, I get emotional just talking about them. I owe my career to them. And that's what's allowed me to ascend and do all the things that I've done. I'm not saying I haven't struggled since, but mentorship is critical. And I'm the product of it, and I have many mentees, and I just want to emphasize from a personal perspective why that's so important. So, from that deep depth through the mentorship, I've had a remarkable career. I've done a lot of things, I'm not going to elaborate on it. I've started my own agency. I've been VP and head of creative for a billion-dollar startup. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. I've started interior design business and many other businesses that I'm working on now. I've done a lot of things, but none of that matters or would be possible without the people in my life who've been there when I needed them most. That is what mentorship offers you. So, I just waxed poetically about the importance of a mentor, right? Well, how the heck do you get one? Do you go to like the mentor store and you just pick them out when there's a clearance sale during the holidays? I wish that existed, but it doesn't, right? So how do you get a mentor? Well, first, does anyone know who the gentleman on the right is in this photo? Please. Sidney Poitier. If you don't know who he is, you should be ashamed of yourself. He is one of the greatest actors in the history of the planet. Anyone know who the gentleman on the left is? It might be a little bit harder. Denzel Washington. He's one of the greatest actors in the history of the world. Do you see a commonality there? So does anyone know how they're associated with each other? So let me tell you a story. Denzel was sitting at an interview, I think it was for the Santa Barbara Film Festival. You can look this up on YouTube. And someone asked him a question, and he brought up Sidney Poitier, casually, because you can, I guess, if you're Denzel. And he said, I was at Sidney Poitier's house. He's 92 years old. We're sharing a drink, and he means a lot to me. And the host was shocked, like, you know Sidney Poitier? You go over to his house? Who are you? He's like, of course I do. I've known him for decades. He then told a very inspiring story. He said, the whole reason I'm here, the whole reason I'm Denzel Washington is because of Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier, decades ago, was at a restaurant, sitting, eating his meal, and I saw him. At the time, he was one of the biggest stars on the planet. Okay? And if you understand the context of the 1960s, you'll understand how profound that is. Denzel saw him. Nobody knew who he was. He was a fledgling actor on Broadway, making $500 a week. He saw Sidney Poitier, and he immediately activated. And he went up to Sidney Poitier, and he said, excuse me, sir, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was going to do my Denzel impression, but I'm still working on it. I'm a huge fan. And you don't know who I am. I'm nobody. I'm not on your level. But here's my resume. I want to be great. I want to be like you. Bye. And he left. He was so nervous to meet his hero, but he seized the moment. He saw someone who was in a position that he wanted to be in. He handed him his resume, and he walked away, assuming he would never hear from Sidney Poitier again. Long story short, Sidney Poitier reached out, began a mentorship relationship, and the rest is history. Seize your moment. If you find someone who inspires you, don't leave it to chance. Seize the moment and be proactive. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. So why is this significant? Well, Sidney Poitier was a mentor to Denzel Washington, who was a mentor to Will Smith, who was a mentor to Nick Cannon, who's a mentor to Kai Cenat. Do you see how this works? Mentorship is legacy. That's really, really important. It's not about you. It's about what comes next. And imagine that legacy of people who maybe would not be successful if it wasn't for the act of Sidney Poitier. So it's not just about being a mentor, but what it means to be a mentee. And to pass that forward and the relationship changes. And now Denzel, before Sidney passed, also became a mentor to him in his advanced age and help him through that process. So I just want to illustrate that and why it's important. Mentorship is rooted in trust and mutual respect. That's why Sydney and Denzel worked well together. Would you, as a mentor, want a mentee who you don't respect? Would you, as a mentee, want a mentor you don't trust? So understand those parameters and be picky, because this is a long-term relationship and an investment on both ways. But also understand that if you're a mentor, you should never get more out of the relationship than the mentee. Very important. This is a selfless pursuit, to invest in somebody and to bring them up, and hopefully they can get to your level of success much shorter than it took you. So here's some practical tips. If you're a mentee, you're looking for a mentor, right? There's no like rule book on that, right? Denzel seized his moment. But here's some things that you can do. One, you can be proactive. Okay? Denzel was proactive. He saw something, he went for it, the rest is history. You can do the same. If you find somebody online or in person or whatever, be proactive. Do not expect a mentor to go out of their way to introduce themselves to you and to activate themselves. They're busy. That's why they're successful. So you have to be the opening party and proactive about it. Be persistent. We're busy. You might not respond. Don't take it personal. Be persistent. Politely, professionally, but don't give up. You think if Denzel didn't hear from Sidney Poitier about his resume, he would just give up? Or would he show up at the Academy Awards? Or would he show up somewhere else and find opportunities to get the guidance that he needs? You have to be persistent. I just talked about how profound mentorship transformed my career. If I could go back in time, I would fight for that with my life. So be persistent. It's important. And that's your role as a mentee. You also have to be patient. I mentioned people are busy. You never want a mentor who's always available. Probably a reason for that. So you have to be patient, understand we're human. Do not take it personally. If you never hear from them, it's not because they don't want to work with you. It just happens. Maybe you were in the spam folder. Maybe they lost your contact information. That's where persistence comes in, but you have to be patient. Mentorship, I mentioned earlier, is a long-term game. So play the long game. So, I just talked about the mentor. Mentee, what about the mentor side? How can you be a mentor? Notice I didn't say become. One of the most powerful forms of mentorship is leadership. Your boss, your parents. Leadership can be defined in so many different ways, but leadership, in my opinion, is not a gift for you. It's a sacrifice for others, and that applies to mentorship as well. It is a selfless pursuit. So make sure, if you're choosing to be a mentor, that you understand this is a selfless pursuit to help other people and not for your gain. Your gain is in your investment. I'm sure the mentors I spoke about earlier are very proud to see me on this stage. From an intern with $20,000 in debt and no degree to doing the things that I've done. That is their legacy, not mine. So, if you're a mentor, here's some tips for you. I mentioned the mentee is to be proactive. Well, you need to be reactive. If somebody reaches out to you, takes their time to get to know you, try to return the favor. Make yourself available. It's not easy, it's difficult. I carve out specific time out of my day to try to get back and to respond. There might be people in this room who've never heard from me, and I apologize for that. It's not personal. But we have to try to be responsive, because that is the cycle that leads to future success. I just mentioned that whole legacy that Sidney Poitier left. Imagine he never responded. I don't want to be that person either. So if you're in this audience and you're a mentor, keep that in mind. You have to be responsive. And what I mean by that is mentorship, as I mentioned, is a long-term game. So imagine you reach out to me, I engage with you, and then after about 3 weeks, I disappear. Doesn't sound very long-term, does it? So understand, if you're going to engage in a relationship with a mentee, that you're in it for the long haul, so that you can see them develop and the fruits of your labor and your investment as they grow. Otherwise, don't do it. That's not fair to the mentee. That's not fair to the process. So be responsive and engage for the long term. In addition, you have to be resourceful. And what I mean by that is, nobody's just here to hear you talk. You have to be a resource. I can't tell you how many letters of recommendations I've wrote, how many references I've been for people. how many doors I've opened by introducing them to high-level colleagues to get around the hiring BS. You have to be a resource, not just with your words, but with your actions. That's the whole point. Open doors for people as doors were open for me, and make sure you're putting that proactivity into action in your practice. So, I also want to talk about the power of community. We're literally witnessing it here. Look at all the people here, from all walks of life, all over DC, all over the United States, different disciplines, here gathered, being late for work, to hear some guy talk about a very important topic. This is the power of community. There is no more powerful form of mentorship than community. Because here you gather, you meet different people from different walks of life. Your future mentor might be in this room. Your future mentee might be in this room. Your future business partner or colleague or employer or, I don't know, a relationship could be in this room. That is the power of community, and I want people to also keep that in mind, that mentorship does not have to be one-on-one or individual. It can also be communal, and this is a perfect and powerful example of that. So what if the community that you want doesn't exist? What if you're a niche photographer in a small town? Do you just give up? Do you move to New York? I don't believe so. Build the community that you want to be a part of. If it doesn't exist, build it. Imagine if somebody never did Creative Mornings. We wouldn't be gathered here today. Imagine if Kaylee just decided, I don't feel like it today. We wouldn't be gathered here. It's a selfless sacrifice, but look at the results. And that's really important. I once had that journey when I moved to DC 10 years ago. There's great organizations that I'm going to mention in a minute, but I wanted a different type of community. So I partnered with a friend who just moved into town, Casey Randall, and we started District Creatives. At the time, we were one of the biggest creative communities in the entire Mid-Atlantic. We built the community that we wanted. And unfortunately, COVID killed it, but that's because we didn't want to be an online group. We wanted to be here in person and connect just like we're doing here today. So there's no excuse. If it doesn't exist, build it. If it does exist, support it. Support Creative Mornings. We appreciate all of you being here today. Support AIGA DC. Support AAF. These are all great organizations, and there's countless meetup groups and opportunities in this city for you to connect in a town that creative is marginalized because we're not the main industry. Community is more important than ever, but it only exists with your support, and your support helps create mentorship opportunities. So please support and continue to support your communities. So with that note, I'd like to offer a round of applause to all the volunteers for Creative Mornings. I mentioned I started my own community. I know how hard and selfless that work is. It takes a lot of work. They were here an hour before you to get set up. Support the community, volunteer, but also appreciate their efforts. So, in closing, I wrote a book. It's called The Art of Direction. Why am I mentioning that in a talk about mentorship? There's a whole chapter in this book about mentorship. That's how important it is to me. This book tells my story, it's deeply personal, and it talks about the journey you can take, whether you're a junior designer aspiring to get into the industry or you're a senior executive running your own agency. There's anecdotes in here that can teach you about leadership, about the journey, about my personal story. And it's a selfless pursuit in my form of mentorship to get all of the experiences that I've had in my career onto paper so that you can read it and skip some of those valleys I had to go through myself. I'll be in the back signing copies if you want to purchase it. If you don't want to wait, because I know you're all late for work, there's a QR code. You can get it on my website. But I need you to understand that it's important that we share our stories, we share our experiences. That in itself is a form of mentorship. This is my pursuit. If you cannot afford this book, I will give it to you for free. That's how important this is for me. Just let me know. So I want you all to take these words to heart. Mentorship is a two-way street. There's the mentee and there's the mentor. That can switch in your career. You never know. but you have to be proactive if you're a mentee. You have to be resourceful if you're a mentor. And make sure that that relationship is mutually beneficial and healthy and long-term. So I thank you all. I thank to Caitlin for hosting us here at the Bloomberg Business Center, and I hope some of these words resonated with you. And as you go on your journey, whether you're a mentee or a mentor, that you take some of these practical steps and you help build a legacy of your own. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vince. I'm just gonna go on my tippy toes, so I'm not gonna be up here long. Let it sit in the brain for a second. Okay. Questions? Questions for Vince?
All right, shout it, Shinji.
As a mentor, how do you navigate around the idea of honesty? So in your example, you mentioned how your mentor is kind of covered for you when you didn't necessarily have experience. But if you're dealing with a mentee where a certain situation might not be true in the moment, but you believe it, like how do you kind of navigate that in that relationship?
Absolutely, that's a great question. I'll paraphrase in case it wasn't picked up by the camera. How do you navigate honesty with a mentee? As I mentioned in my story, I was not honest on purpose. I was desperate. I had to get in the industry, but I had potential. And your number one role as a mentor is to see people's potential, not their honesty. We all exaggerate our skills, especially early, because it's so difficult to get a foot in the door. How do you get a job that requires experience if you need that experience to get the job? So one thing that you need to develop as a skill as a mentor is the ability to see talent. I don't see your portfolio. I don't see your credentials. I don't care that you went to Parsons. I see your potential as a human being. And I can tell that often by the questions that are asked of me. It tells me your aspirations. It tells me your aptitudes. It tells me your ceiling. And when I choose to engage in that relationship, it's because I'm investing in somebody that I think can surpass me. So it's not about honesty. It's about potential. You should never mislead anybody. But those people in my life saw the potential in me. And I hope I realized that. And I'm grateful, but that's a skill you need to develop because, let's be honest, a lot of people waste your time. So make sure when you're engaged in that relationship, it's based on potential and not credential. Please.
Thank you for the talk. I have two questions.
Yep.
One, as a mentee, what's one of the most impactful pieces of advice you've received from one of the Brads or another mentor? and second, as a mentor, you talked about legacy, which I think is really important. What's one of the most thrilling things that has happened to one of your mentees, something that has felt really personally satisfying to you?
It's a lot. I'll answer the first part. The best advice that I got from my most important mentees, regardless of who they are, was be in the rooms you're not supposed to. Everyone has these levels. You're a junior designer, you're a senior designer, you're a lead designer. In any industry, there's these levels, and you have to go up these stairs, right, to your success. I don't. I skip several steps. That's how I became so successful so fast. I'm always seeking to be in the rooms I'm not. If you have a creative director or a manager who's doing something several levels above you, ask if you can be in that room. Maybe you just take notes. One, they'll appreciate your proactivity, but you also get insights into a world that you might not get to experience for many years, and that will help you leapfrog and elevate your career. So I'm constantly knocking in doors I don't belong in. I'm constantly in meetings I shouldn't be in, and then funny thing happens, soon I'm leading those meetings. And you know what I do? I start getting more people in those rooms who don't belong there. And that is part of carrying that legacy forward. As far as a mentee, I would have to say my niece. The reason I say that is my niece was born to my sister when she was 18 years old. I come from an African family. You guys can read between the lines. Not exactly acceptable in our family. She ended up being the best thing that ever happened to our family. She brought us together. She went to NYU, graduated with honors. She surpassed me at 26 years old. I am so proud. I'm a small part of that legacy, but when you invest in somebody and their potential and they surpass you, there's no ego involved. It is the greatest gift they could ever give you, and that is the whole point of mentorship. So she's the first person who comes to mind, is my niece.
Shout it.
In the back.
What's your advice for when your mentee is a little stuck? You know, they're not getting out of their own way. They have the potential, you're goal setting,
Yep.
you're coaching, they're stuck in it.
Yeah, so the question was, what's the solution when your mentee is stuck? Well, stuck can mean a lot of things, but one is to employ your empathy with your mentee. How many of you have been stuck in your career? See the point? The problem is they're often going through something for the first time. They don't know that we all share those experiences. They think it's internalized. They think something's wrong with them. So the first step is to empathize with them and let them know, hey, I've been stuck before. In fact, here's a specific example of when I was stuck. Here's what I did to get around that. Use that to inspire them so they can help solve their own problem. And part of being stuck, at least speaking for myself, is a lack of inspiration. That is also part of your job, is to provide inspiration for them through your anecdotes, through your stories, through your experience, and help them work out their own problems. You can never work it out for them, but it starts with empathy, letting them know that this feeling that they have probably isn't unique. We've all been through it. So speak about the time you were stuck and how you got through it, and that will help inspire them maybe to solve that problem. And I think that's really important, especially with younger and junior mentees. Please, in the back.
Are you still looking for a new mentor? And ideally, who would that be?
New mentors?
Are you looking for a new mentor for yourself?
For yourself, yeah.
Oh wow, I got a great story for that. So when I was early in my career, high school, Aaron Draplin came to our city. Everyone know who Aaron Draplin is? I'm not going to swear, he's a big deal. Okay? Design hero of mine, and he came out and he gave this amazing presentation. He came out to AC/DC, like everyone else was buttoned up in suits, Madison Avenue, and he came out with a big beard, a t-shirt, beer stains, and rock music. I'm like, who is this guy? And I thought he'd come out and brag about his career, and instead he starts his slides talking about his family. And he has a picture of his mom and dad. I remember this viscerally. And they're at a car dealership. And he said, the whole reason I quit my agency and started my own was I wanted to buy my mom and dad a car and a house. That was his motivation. So he shows this picture and he's super successful. And this is like 20 years ago. He's even more successful now. And he says, this is the picture of me taking my mom and dad to the car dealership. And the mom has house keys in her hand and he's getting emotional. And what the heck does that have to do with anything? Well, what he inspired in me is that no matter what you pursue, you have to know your why. Our jobs can suck sometimes. You have to have purpose and a mission and know what your why is. That's what gets you through those valleys of that graphic that I illustrated earlier. And the whole point of this Aaron Draplin story is that sometimes, even though he never responded to my email, I'm over it, obviously. Mentorship doesn't have to be direct. You can inspire somebody through your talk, through your book, through your words, through your posts. It doesn't have to be this direct relationship like Sidney Poitier and Denzel Washington. Aaron Draplin is one of my greatest mentors, and I've never met him. I saw him, we've never interacted, but it's an important story here. You don't have to go chase somebody all the time. Their thought leadership is out there. Their resources are out there. You can be inspired by them in a different way, and he would be somebody I'd be honored to have a personal relationship with. And we've been in conferences together and spoken at the same places. We've just never connected. So if he's watching this, you have my email, and we'll find a way. But hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions? In the pink, please. I'll get to you next.
As a mentee, how do you gauge what are realistic expectations from your mentor?
Can you give me a context?
everyone's busy, or
Yep.
maybe as a mentee you're stuck. Like, how do you lean on that mentor for support in a way that feels realistic?
Yeah, so she was asking how can you set realistic expectations as a mentee with your mentor? One, I mentioned earlier, you have to be proactive. So you got to do all the front work. Once you get that engagement, make it easy for them. Okay? So let's say they're too busy for email, for text, for all those things. And let's just say for illustrative purposes, they're a coworker. You know, maybe they're somebody 2 levels above you and you're trying to reach them. Well, get creative. Are most of the room creatives? Okay, so what I would do if they were too busy to sit down for 45 minutes to tell me all their secrets, I'm coming to lunch with you. And I'm buying you lunch or coffee, and I'll catch you in the morning or at noon, and we're gonna sit down, and while you're doing your normal daily duties, I'm just going to listen. But I'm also gonna ask you the right questions. And over time, you'll start to realize through those questions, as I mentioned earlier, your potential. And a funny thing will happen. Your persistence, your proactivity will pay off, and all of a sudden they'll start saying things like, hey, every Thursday, I got 45 minutes for you. Once a month, we're gonna connect. And they're gonna start flipping it on you and organizing because now they're invested in you. So you do the front end work, get creative, find ways, understanding they're busy, to carve time out, be persistent, and then watch as that transforms as they start believing in you and in your potential, because that is also part of their legacy. So that's just a small tip that I would give. And I think we had a question right here in the front.
Yeah, as a mentee, how do you rebuild trust with your mentor if they gave you advice that you followed and it didn't work out?
Wow, that is such a good question. So the question was, what do you do to rebuild trust with your mentor if, for example, they gave you advice that was not advantageous? So this is a cautionary tale. You have to be judicious with the information that you get. Critical thinking skills, something that isn't taught as much anymore, is critical with your mentors. If their heart is in the right place, if they're really invested in you, they'll never wade into territories they never should. I will never give you financial advice because I'm not a fiduciary. I'm not a CPA. There's territories I will not wade into. If I want to give you guidance on, say, how to negotiate equity, because you might be working with a tech startup, I'll give you a story of what I did. And you're going to take information from that and use that to guide yourself. So if your mentor is consistently giving you bad information, or that information has hurt you, it's probably time to find a new mentor. The rebuilding of trust is not on you, it's on them. So just keep that in mind, and hopefully you'll notice those trends and you can move on to somebody else, because that information, as I mentioned, we should be resourceful, should always be helping you and never hurting you. But take what we say with a grain of salt. We're not experts in everything. We're trying to share our resources. We're not always right, but our hearts should always be in the right place. And if we mess up, that's on me to fix it, not on you.
One more if anyone wants it.
All right, I'm gonna go right here in the middle, black shirt.
You gave an example of how a mentee can be persistent to get, time with a mentor. Well, what if you're a mentor and you've made that space, you have organized, times, whatever it is, but your mentee is not showing up. And it doesn't have to be a schedule. They're not showing up. They could be showing up and they're not paying attention. Whatever not showing up means.
Yep. And another great question. I'm really glad you asked that. The question was, what happens if, you've activated as a mentor and you've invested in somebody and then they're consistently not showing up or taking advantage of that relationship? Well, this is the opposite of the question the other young lady just asked, where this is really important. Whether you're a mentor or mentee, I'm gonna try to say it really clearly. As a mentor, we cannot want it more than you. Bottom line, if I'm putting in more time and effort to mentor you than you are getting mentored, I will cut you off. Not because I have ego or you're wasting my time. I told you earlier, everything is about potential. And sometimes it's a test to see how bad you want something. There's no scenario when I was going through all the trials and tribulations I mentioned where I'm going to waste somebody's time. I am fighting, kicking doors in just to get an opportunity. I'm not missing a meeting. I'm not missing a phone call, I'm not missing an email, because that's how bad I want it, and they should see that. So if your mentee is not activated in that way, if they're not being proactive, if they're wasting your time, then the same advice that I gave earlier, you have to cut them off for their own good. We can never want it more than you, and once we see that activation in you, we will open doors and unlock all our resources, but understand that that in itself is a privilege and not a right. And we'll leave it there.
Thank you, Vince. One more time. Okay. I think the piece that's really getting to me is mentorship as legacy. This whole time I have been thinking about my late mentor. If you came to my talk I did last year, I mentioned my mentor and friend that had passed away. I'm really trying not to cry. I think that was a beautiful talk, and we can all keep in our 2 minutes of quiet either a mentor who means a lot to us or a piece of this idea that mentorship is legacy, and we will enjoy our 2 minutes of quiet together. Mentorship is legacy. Mentorship is a emotional sacrifice and commitment. And my wish for you today is to carry the spirit of whoever you were thinking about, and carry that gratitude into the rest of the day for your mentor, your mentee, whoever it is in your life. We do have a book signing available as we depart, and the Frary Gallery, yep, I'm not making stuff up, the Frary Gallery is open. It's lovely if you'd like to go and check out the exhibit. Thank you for showing up on a Thursday. We really threw a curveball at you. But look at this, we really turned out. So thank you once again to Vince. Thank you again to our volunteer team and to those future volunteers that are sitting in Amari's inbox, waiting for a reply. You'll get one soon. Thank you, Creative Mornings DC.